first one is that my father always loved to tell us that on our muckland there was lowland, and therefore it always flooded in the winter. So they would sweep it off with a broom, and then they would push the women around on kitchen chairs. And he said they had a great time. He would always be laughing when he would tell that story. So that's way back in about 1900, because he was born in 1884. Then the next one is that Paul's father and mother, that's about 1943. My mother's diary says that Uncle Mervyn and Aunt Veronique came with a horse and a sleigh and picked up, I guess, maybe Mom and Dad, and then went on to Martin Haseley on Saunders Settlement Road, and Martin Haseley and Josephine, and then on around, what's the road? From Sanborn to Ward Road, and then to Lockport Road, and around the block to Walmore Road again home. So they had a wonderful time. So I was telling that, and then Gladys Croning Haseley, she was telling that, well, she remembered the sleigh ride, and she's 97 now, I think. And she remembered that, I guess her husband also had horses maybe, but he came with a sleigh, and they went all the way to Martinsville to visit somebody there. So that's quite a ways to go on a sleigh, and this was about, she said, more like about 1945, 46, because it was after they were married. So that's in my lifetime, and people are riding around on the sleigh. That's pretty good. So then the next little story is that I remember in first grade at St. Peter's, we had the old schoolhouse, which is north, I guess, of where the church is now. And there was a creek near that school, and the one-room schoolhouse, and every winter, when it's, of course, I was only first grade and second grade, then we no longer had the school, but the boys especially, and sometimes the girls, would go down to the creek, and of course, somebody had to test the ice and fall in.
Sure.
And so then they would come back to the school, and then we played in the snow. And so our mittens would all be hung up by the stove, and you could see them steaming and sizzling once in a while. And I know probably some of you remember too that sometimes they built snow forts, and they used the bullet casings, and if they hit you with one of those, then you got put into the fort. Which is, when I think of that now, they could, one of those casings, the metal could have hit us in the head. No telling, but anyway, that's the fun we had. I think the teacher went home for lunch during that time. Oh, yeah. So, and then when I grew up, I remember I must have been only maybe 4 years old, but my parents drove down Pine Avenue to do some shopping in the winter, and I saw somebody just sail across the street, and I just went nuts. I think then already I had the spirit of adventure in me, because I didn't leave my parents alone till I got my own pair of skates. I didn't know what that was, that person could slide so fast, but I begged and begged till I got a pair of skates, and then we swept off the ice on our yard, on our big lawn, so that I could skate on that little ice strip. So we had good times. I think way back then they didn't have snowmobiles, and nobody around here, I guess, had skis, but they still figured out good ways to have good times. Okay.
Good. Well, when you were